here we go with the top 3 nutrition myths busted. And just so you know, there's a lot of information out there, right? So an ocean of information specifically on health, and it can be very confusing sometimes. So I actually had to apply a lot of this to get to where I am now. So I try to, walk the walk and talk the talk, okay? Just so you know. Okay, so myth number 1 is that fat is somehow bad for you or is going to clog your arteries, make you keel over and die with a heart attack, or, make your heart explode, all right? So there are certain fats that can do that, but the fats that are in the crosshairs are not the proper ones that we should be looking at. So let's back up. Let's go back in history a little bit and figure out where did this myth start. So it actually started in and around the 50s when a scientist named Dr. Ansel Keys did a study. And he studied different countries, and he found that there was a link there's 20 countries that he found that had a link between a high-fat diet and cardiovascular disease, heart disease, right? So he's like, oh, fat must create heart disease. The only problem was that he left out 16 countries that actually went against what his thoughts were. So countries like Denmark, Holland, they have high-fat diets, but they had low instances of heart disease. So unfortunately, that's pretty bad science right there, right? So as soon as that happened, we got all cautious about fat, all right? And particularly saturated fat. When we're talking about saturated fats, we're talking about those fats that tend to stay solid, like butter, bacon fat, coconut oil, things like that, eggs, okay? And when you take a step back, we've been eating these things for thousands of years. How could it possibly be bad for us all of a sudden, right? Specifically in the 50s. So that's just something to think about. So I'm going to give you some more information so you guys can come to the conclusions yourself, right? I don't want you to take anything that I'm saying as authoritarian, this has to be true, right? You need to look at it for yourself and decide for yourself. But this is just what we found. So there actually is no evidence of saturated fat causing cardiovascular disease. A study done by the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition actually evaluated 21 separate studies on fat and human health, and they actually found, and this is looking at 350,000 people, and they actually found that there is no link between saturated fat and heart disease. It's something else. Okay? So that's very interesting. And that's also good news because fat is tasty, y'all. Right? Yes. So we'll go over that in a little bit. So cholesterol. Cholesterol. Everybody freaks out at this word cholesterol, right? So cholesterol is actually good, and it's essential to your health. And I'm going to tell you why. So cholesterol is actually a substance that is present in all animal cells and body fluids. Okay? It has to be there for us to exist as living people. It's actually a potent antioxidant that fights free radicals in the blood and helps heal arterial damage. Interesting, right? Cholesterol is, normally we think very differently about cholesterol. Over half of your brain is actually made of cholesterol, or of fat. Your brain is actually the fattest organ in your body, in case you wondered. So you actually need saturated fat for healthy brain function. This one's really important in my opinion because your hormones are what control everything in your body, right? Saturated fat is actually needed to make hormones in your body, such as testosterone, the important male hormone, progesterone and estrogen, important female hormones, cortisol, which is the very important stress hormone that is produced to help us combat the effects of stress, and more. So when we're not having enough healthy fats in our diets, we're actually messing with our hormonal system. And this can create all kinds of imbalances and things, okay? Now, one interesting thing to think about is when we get stressed, what do we tend to crave? Sugar and junk food.
Yeah.
You follow me on that? Like some ice cream, right? Ice cream has sugar and fat. Oh yeah, we want that fat, right? Or chips, for example. That was one of my go-tos. Love the chips. The cookies. Tasty. So this is really our body calling out for healthy fats. So please do not give it junk food. Do not give it these bad fats, which I'm about to tell you about, but give it the good fats, okay? And make sure you have enough in your diet because you're going to be happier, healthier, your brain is going to function better, you're going to be less hormonal. These are good things. cholesterol is actually needed for vitamin absorption in the body, specifically with vitamins A, D, and K. And 90% of mother's milk is made out of fat for good brain and nerve development. So mother's milk, one of the most nutritious foods on the planet for the little baby, full of fat. Okay? And then there's other roles that cholesterol plays. For example, saturated fat helps stop inflammation. The lungs actually can't function without saturated fat, etc., etc. Am I blowing anybody's mind? Are you guys? Yeah, you are? Okay. I guess that could be good or bad. I don't know. All right. So we'll keep going with this. So the fats that you really need to be careful of is these vegetable oils. And they're also called the hydrogenated vegetable oils. So heart disease can actually come from these because these oils, the way hydrogenation, all that means is that somebody's doing some science experiments inserting hydrogen into these oils to make them last longer on the shelves. Okay? The problem with that is they use chemicals to do that. And then they also those oils become rancid over time. And you don't want to be eating rancid, nasty oils. Because that can create inflammation in the body. You're also taking in those toxins, etc. So when you are eating these vegetable oils, like soybean oil, cottonseed oil, canola, rapeseed, safflower, and corn oils, all of these are man-made. And those are the ones that break down into trans fatty acids, which then stick to the walls of our arteries, and these are the ones that are creating the heart issues. All right? So, again, the oils to stay away from are listed there. In particular, I want you guys to be careful with things like sauces and dressings. Okay? So we know like salads are supposed to be are good for us, right? So then we know we need a good dressing, right? You need to dress it, make it taste good. So a lot of dressings have soybean oil and other cheap oils, which you really want to stay away from. Please, instead of that, go with the organic extra virgin olive oil, sesame oil is awesome, etc., etc. Stick with the things that, you know, like have you guys ever seen a canola? You know, think about that. Or a rapeseed. I don't want to eat a rapeseed.
I think that's supposed to be grapeseed oil.
No, it's rapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil is one thing, and rapeseed is a...
kidding.
Oh, totally.
I thought it was a typo.
It's not a typo. So eat fats that are good for you. So for example, grass-fed butter, one of my personal favorites. Everybody here knows I am a butter fanatic, okay? I'm not saying that you should go overboard, but just it makes things taste good. For example, vegetables, put some butter on some vegetables. Oh my gosh, that's delicious. Broccoli, you know, kale. Ooh. Use traditional oils like extra virgin olive oil, sesame oil, flax, coconut, etc. Make sure they are expeller pressed. What expeller pressed basically means is that there's no chemicals that are used to press the oil, and it was done by a machine which basically squeezed the oil out of that particular food item, right? So that's very different than the chemical process where they use this thing called hexane to chemically extract the oils out of these, the man-made oils, okay? So that's what expeller pressed means. Cold pressed means the oil was expeller pressed, but in a climate-controlled, a cooler environment. And they do that with oils that are very sensitive, like extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, etc. All right? Other great oils that are, other great fats that I love: avocado, organic pasture-raised chickens, wild-caught salmon, and even cacao, chocolate. Yes, eat it. It's so good for you. And it'll make you. And one of the good. And then, what's that? Was that one of your favorites?
Oh, remember that one.
You remember that one? Yeah, there you go. So when I say chocolate, you know, be careful with milk chocolate and things that have more sugar than chocolate. Okay, try to stay with the cacao, the really dark chocolate, and things like that. Okay. And then go ahead and consume full-fat milk products if you're not sensitive to dairy, obviously. So that there's a big list there: whole yogurt, organic sour cream, and please be very careful to buy organic dairy and organic fat products, because plants, animals, and humans, we all store our toxins in our fat and our fat cells. So if you're eating butter that's not organic, you're eating the cow's toxins. Ooh, don't do that. So grass-fed butter is awesome. Kerrygold is a very popular brand that's in stores. You know, Winn-Dixie, Publix, Whole Foods, etc., etc. Okie dokie. So now that you all hate me, no. So there are some good side effects of fat, and this was really important for me because I still have a pretty big appetite, but I used to just eat, like I could eat everything, right? And what I realized is I wasn't getting enough fats, and as soon as I started factoring in enough fats, not only did my naughty sugar cravings die down and other food cravings that aren't so good for us, but just I was satiated, and, right? Because fat satiates us, so it lets us know we're full. So having those healthy fats will also help with any kind of cravings that you're having, specifically for junk. So I don't have time to go into, does fat make us fat? I personally think that's a myth. Does overeating calories make us fat, not enough exercise? I personally think that's a myth. If you want to learn more, there's an awesome book by Gary Taubes called Why We Get Fat, and he covers both of those subjects very thoroughly. That's Why We Get Fat by Gary Taubes. It's a little bit of a dry read because he presents a lot of information, a lot of facts. So just a word of warning, but he's got a lot of good information in there.